it's undermining his sense of urgency and he wants to be the most efficient. So efficiency to Cory Booker means looking the other way during a Holocaust. So here's the perfect example of why I came to hate Democrats, because I was a Democrat all my life until they cheated Bernie Sanders, and then they lied about everything about it. And then they lied about Russiagate. They lied about Syria. They lied about Ukraine. They lied about COVID. They lied about getting us health care. They lied about everything. They lied about Joe Biden being demented. They lied about everything. But here, watch this. Here's the gutless Democrats. This is Cory Booker, who I bet is going to run for president.
What is this soy jack face he's making? This should be a meme.
This should be. Let's listen to what he has to say, and why this is a perfect example of why people hate Democrats.
Do you think he's a war criminal, Benjamin Netanyahu? Do you
It's a simple yes or no question. Do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? Let's see what he says.
think he's a war criminal?
I again, these are questions that a lot of people think are the important litmus tests that are loaded and hot. My urgency is to be an effective leader in bringing an end to this crisis.
His urgency? It looks like Cory Booker isn't telling the story. He's just thinking now of the humiliation ritual his superiors will put him through to punish him for saying yes at the end of this clip. Let's watch.
I bet it's going to include a hot load, Jimmy.
And I get these questions all the time that to me undermine my urgency.
I think the thing that Democrats get so frustrated with, where we are right now, where you see like the Zoran Mamdanis and the Graham Plattners rise up, because they can go on podcasts and you can say, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And they just say, yes. And that's the end of it. It's not all of the rhetoric answering. It's like what happens to Democratic politicians, they go through this like prism, and then we can't ever get like the answer to yes or no conversations like you do with Bernie and others. And that's the frustration for the Democratic
Do I think Netanyahu is worse than Trump? Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't the question.
I didn't ask that.
Again, won't answer the question.
Do I think he's worse than Trump? Yes. I mean, she's so gently, because it seemed to me like she genuinely is sick of that, whether she's a dumb Democrat or not. Now, she's not bright enough to put together the whole party's garbage, and they're doing it on purpose, but she is bright enough to try to explain to him what the issue is. And so he couldn't like, what do you love? Oh, what do you love, Hamas? Like, he wasn't able. That's normally what they do.
I like he said it's undermining his sense of urgency and he wants to be the most efficient. So efficiency to Cory Booker means looking the other way during a Holocaust. I guess Germans called that efficient, I guess.
Yeah, that's precision.
Branko says, between this and Buttigieg getting slammed for his Gaza answer on Channel 5, Democratic politicians are getting a preview of the gauntlet they're going to have to run in 2028 if they can't break from Israel. This is exactly what's going to happen if they can't break from Israel. What's up?
Did Buttigieg just get slammed with also with hot loaded rhetoric?
Yeah, yeah. Remember this? Here's him being asked. Pete Buttigieg once again tries to weigh in on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Within the first minute of a 10-minute discussion, he repeats the long debunked hoax that Hamas put babies in ovens. Let's listen.
So you have the word socialism scaring people, and it sounds like a huge thing is Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that stuff?
Well, I'm going to put my coffee down. There's so many things that have to be said. And what I've learned is if you don't say all of them, people think you're abandoning them. Mm-hmm. So here's some things in no particular order that I know. I know that there are unspeakable horrors taking place in Gaza. I know that those unspeakable horrors are something that was unleashed by a war that started with unspeakable horrors being perpetrated by Hamas on October 7th.
No, the war did not start on October 7th. The war started in 1948 with the Nakba, the murder and ethnic cleansing of Palestinians from their own homes. That's what started the war. The war didn't start on October 7th. They're being occupied by an occupier, and according to UN, that is their civil right to oppose their occupier with violence if necessary. So if you're being occupied, which they are, no one disputes that they're being occupied, you're allowed under international law to fight back against your occupiers with violence. So
I think that's from after the Holocaust, was it not?
I'm pretty sure that came after the Holocaust. But guess what? That's not when it started. But here he comes with the bigger lie.
Well, I mean, that wasn't the beginning of the conflict.
Of course. I mean, this goes back to 47 and it goes back before 47. But this is exactly my point.
Right.
The moment you say...
So no. So you lied. That's not your point. Your point was you tried to lie about the start of the war. That's what you just did. Of course you know it started with the Nakba in 48. Of course you know that. But you didn't say it. You said something that was a lie. Okay.
Anything about the moment I talk about disgust at babies.
Okay,
of course, I mean, this goes back to 47 and it goes back before 47. But this is exactly my point. Right. The moment you say anything about the moment I talk about disgust at babies being put in ovens and people being flayed by Hamas on October 7th, somebody says, well, you're not talking about the history of the Nakba and what happened with the displacement of Palestinians. And the moment I express...
So he just lied again. He already completely debunked idea that the Hamas put babies in ovens. That's a lie. So
nobody says that. They say you're lying, liar.
Yes.
And you're probably not gay.
That's Kurt's idea.
I'm all in. Look, I'm not doing research on it, Jimmy. I'm trusting the science on this one.
Here's Democrat Gavin Newsom. Zionist Democrat leader Gavin Newsom struggles to speak after podcast host brings up AIPAC. He repeats it's interesting 10 times and claims nobody has brought up the foreign influence operation in years, 4 times, while failing to say anything more when asked. Let's listen. Here we go.
Interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting.
You're the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting, he says. It's interesting.
To him?
I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I haven't thought about AIPAC.
Interesting.
And it's interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC.
Wow. That's 3 interestings in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, but he said it with a gravelly voice.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Which is interesting. Why did I say that? Not relevant to my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen.
It's interesting you say that. JPAC perhaps more, but AIPAC less and less.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
That interesting.
You know what's interesting is you lying like that, pretending that you haven't thought about AIPAC in years. That's what's interesting. What's interesting is that you can't stop saying interesting over and over. That's very interesting and suspect.
Is it so interesting you're not going to answer the goddamn question?
It's so interesting he's not going to answer the question.
But you know what I find interesting?
What?
No hand movements in
no
this.
No hand movements, right?
And look at how weird his hand is right now. That's weird too.
Right.
Well, that's just
that's interesting.
Freemasonic diamond of manifestation that he has to make contractually.
Interesting? Passive aggression isn't for him. He's not cut out to be cunning and crafty. He's designed to be a charming male escort. taking ancient divorcees to lobster dinner on their own credit card.
That it's just interesting as you bring up AIPAC that it hasn't been part of. I'm just reflecting quite openly and honestly. Hasn't been part of the day to day.
Yeah. The only reason why I ask is because with that, what I'm talking about is lobbying in and of itself.
Okay, interesting.
It really threw that guy off. His interest. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told my best friend when he asked if I was banging his wife." That is interesting. Interesting you bring that up.
And everything that Gavin Newsom just said is aimed at roughly about 25 people in the entire country because they are the ones who pay his bills along with all our tax dollars.
Yeah, also Hollywood's there. It's quite a vector of AIPAC to propaganda pipeline. October
19th, we'll be in Irvine, California. We'll be in Australia. Then we'll be in Burbank, California the day after Thanksgiving. And then Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.